This episode of Unk's Lab is powered by Patreon. Become a supporter today to earn early access to future Unk's Lab content. Thank you for your support. So I've been playing a lot of Donkey Kong Bananza lately. I guess you could say from a glance that I like it. I'm several playthroughs deep now. Don't talk to me about those issues. I already know them. I guess you could say that all that copium made me go kinda crazy. Ooh. For as fantastic of a game as this is, and I don't mean to undercut that, because this is seriously one of my new favorite games. It does take a new approach to Donkey Kong that you could probably say is much easier. Bananza is definitely much more about the sandbox-style exploration and discovery than it is about crafting a tightly designed, tough-as-nails platforming experience like the Donkey Kong Country games. That's not to say that the game doesn't have any challenge, but, you know, the clear intention was to make a game that would appeal to a much broader audience, and so they dialed that difficulty slider way back. And I think it still succeeds at being extremely fun, you know, I love it. However, as a longtime Donkey Kong fan, I crave abuse. Lucky for me, Nintendo said that's okay. See, Donkey Kong has a skill tree in this game, which is, that's a weird thing to think about now, out loud. And it gives you the freedom to decide for yourself how hard it should be. And that's all thanks to the mystical banana. Collect 5 of these bad boys and you get a skill point that you can use however you like. But the funny thing is, bananas aren't a requirement at any point throughout the story. It's up to the player how much you want to explore and collect. It's very open-ended like that. And this made me form a funny little hypothesis that I just needed to test. And that hypothesis is, how difficult would it be to complete Donkey Kong Bananza with no bananas? Is it even possible, you know? Would it satisfy the hunger of these abusive cravings? Well, these are the questions that I'm setting out to answer today. I like playing Bananza, and I like getting my ass beat. So it's a win-win. My guideline is pretty simple here. Don't collect any bananas, and get to the end of the main story and roll the credits. Yeah, so I don't know, on paper that doesn't sound so bad, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. Before we get this show on the road, if you could hit that like button and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. It helps these videos out so much, and I would love to do more fun, creative things over on this channel, kind of like this. I got a bunch of other ideas too. It'll be a lot of fun. Thanks, I love you. So the adventure started on Ingot Isle, no shit, right? And, you know, it was probably about as easy as you would expect it to be, considering it's the very first level. Did a whole lot of barrel rolling and dodging on bananas, which was the hardest thing for me. Let me tell you, a little piece of my soul disappeared every time I had to skip a banana. Just like Donkey Kong, every time I see a banana, I want it in my mouth. I like potassium, okay? Jeez, bunch of freaks. So I crashed and bashed my way up the yellow brick road and almost broke a banana. But I didn't do it. So deep down into Ingot Isle I went, and since I was already gonna be doing a weird playthrough of this game, I decided to get a little extra wacky with it. Instead of going straight for Odd Rock, I was really curious to see if I could make my way to the top of Ingot Isle and battle that crocoid ahead of time. Took a little bit of creativity to get up there because, you know, technically you're not supposed to be able to get up there without Odd Rock. Man, that's something I love about this game. This game just gives you so much freedom. Play the game in any kind of way you want. This game is goated. So yeah, I got past the first hurdle in a goofy little silly kind of way. And the second one was another funny little challenge because I got this barrel all blocked off. Had to kind of wiggle my way up using the gold whenever it was in place. But I did manage to squeeze my way through and then barreled my way to the top of Ingot Isle. And yeah, no, the crocoid was, he was not alive. He didn't feel like getting up today. But there was a monkey there to tell me, hey buddy, you did this out of order. Go the fuck back down. Alright. Break. So so I did a little skydiving without a parachute and pulled a rock out of the dirt. I beat up a bunch of bad guys and became reluctant best friends with him. He's now my dependent, at least I get tax breaks. So then I climbed to the top of Ingot Isle the right way, beat up the Crocoid, destroyed the Void Seal, and then I learned the name of the game. Thank God they spelled it out for me, I was lost. All in all, like I said, Ingot Isle was about as easy as you would expect it to be. I mean, especially considering there aren't even enough bananas here to give you a skill point anyway at this point in the game. But it was kind of fun playing the level a little bit out of order, just to kind of see how the game would react. It's funny how they prepared for that. They put a monkey at the top to tell you, hey bud, no. Next up on our list is the Lagoon Layer. And let me tell you, dude, I just love the music here. I just had to throw it out there. It's one of my favorite tracks in the game. But I didn't waste any time. I made a beeline for the very first Void Stake. And man, even just moving around in this game is so much fun. The way you can just slice through these levels like butter with Donkey Kong's movement is something to really admire. So in no time flat, I was chucking boom rocks at these walls, climbed up, broke the Void Seal, and onto the second sub-layer I went. Just like Ingot Isle, I wanted to experiment with not playing the game correctly. I guess that, I mean, that's the theme of this whole thing, I guess. So, you know, I was kind of looking at the distance between where I was at and the platform where the Elder sits. I'm thinking to myself, I bet I can make that jump. And so, you know, getting into that platform is one thing, but with no water to raise the other platforms up. And I was looking at this gap and thinking, I don't know about this. So I tried to go for it and messed it up big time, but I'm no quitter. I'm a stubborn prick. I started piling up some dirt thinking I would make a little dirt path across, and well, I gave up on that. I was like, no, I'm gonna try it the other way again. And to my surprise, so I visited the Elder and gave birth to a child. Saw a video somewhere on Twitter that somebody managed to like break through the wall here. You know, cheese it. They cheesed their way through by exploiting the game. I had no idea how to make it happen, so it didn't happen. How do people do this shit? So instead, I just quickly bashed and crashed my way through the bunch of Crocoid guys, broke the Void Seal, and jumped into boss territory. Did another big leap of faith that surprisingly worked out. Man, I love doing that shit. I was on to the Pika Bruiser boss fight that I made short work out of after he almost made short work out of me. Just like that, the Lagoon Layer was completed. This was also a pretty easy layer to complete without collecting any bananas. It was actually so cool how I was just kind of able to skip right over the primary objectives of this place, which is to raise the water level. The schmovement, it's so good. It's so juicy. The only time I came close to getting cooked was on the boss, and well, that was more just out of recklessness than anything. The bosses in this game are so pathetic. So I guess that makes it kind of sad that I almost got cooked. But all in all, you know, I'd maybe put this a speck above Ingot Isle, if only because of the boss at the end. The Hilltop Layer was a lot of fun to break in half like a brittle old person. You don't need to go anywhere near the Fractone village. So I didn't. I just turf surfed my way across this funny little layer, zipped right past the construction site, and instead of taking the normal platformy path, I said, no, you can't make me. Instead, I managed to climb my way up the side of the banana mountain and went up the wrong way. Broke the Void Seal and surfed back over to the construction site where I realized I was a poor, broke bitch. Didn't have enough goddamn gold for this. So I spent a good couple of minutes here just punching dirt. Punching dirt to collect some gold. I had to be extra careful not to crack any funny little hidden secret bananas or anything. I think I picked a pretty safe spot to do it, but accidentally breaking a banana was one of my biggest fears on this playthrough. So I earned enough, but actually I didn't. So I punched more dirt, and then I did. Surfed my way through the canal, broke the seal, and it was on to the next layer. Yeah, this whole layer was by far the easiest one to skim through. You can just ignore everything it wants you to do here, which is becoming something of a running theme. Somehow I doubt it's gonna carry on through the rest of the game, but I guess we'll see. The canyon layer was another really fun test of my platforming capabilities. So I started off Bananza punching my way through the opening moments of the level, and when I got in the minecart, I realized that Donkey Kong has flappy butt physics. Has anybody else noticed this? That ain't just jiggle, man, that's some flapping. So then I zipped my way up the outskirts of this section of the canyon. When I got up to the top of this section, I attempted to do a little more sequence breaking where I became a miserable failure. It wasn't happening, but I wasn't giving up yet. So I freed the minecart, and instead of taking a ride the whole way to the top, I bailed. I bailed early, and miraculously it worked out. So I climbed the side of this cliff and skipped over the grumpy boss fight entirely. When I got to the top, I did a little bit of schmoovin' and got all the way over to this other platform, which allowed me to skip the entirety of the Mad Mixer section of this level. My god, this game is amazing. Then it was just a matter of climbing my way up the side of Click Clack Smokestack, which, you know, it wasn't too shabby, wasn't too bad. Reached the top, broke the seal, took a leap of faith, then it was time to fight Stomp and Clomper. Bro got absolutely mogged. All in all, the canyon layer was another quick and easy endeavor. Dodging bananas here was no problem at all. Wasn't feeling any of the effects of not having any skill points yet, and being able to sequence break this whole entire place was also just really cool. It was really fun. Yeah, all in all, it was a nice and easy package. Next, I dove down into the divide, where I got to experience more crippling pain. Wasted absolutely no time at all. Just made a beeline for the forest layer, broke the seal, and then that's what, yep, that's where I was heading. Should I even bother rating this one? It was easy. It was very easy. The forest layer was another level that was a lot of fun to schmoove my way through. I feel like the real difficulty kind of just came from avoiding the poison lakes and the random vines that would decide to pop up out of nowhere. But all in all, the early parts of this level were not too bad. I did a whole lot of zipping and zooping and booping with oranges. These are very scientific terms, by the way. Don't question my scientific methods. I did a funny little skip here with an orange that I actually don't even think was necessary for me to do. I tried to make a big jump over the lake and got stung by a bitch. And because I just love seeing how I can break this game in half, I took a funny little side way into the hotel this time. Instead of going the way that you're supposed to go, I snuck in through a window, broke a seal, got a record piece, jumped down and got the other record piece, and didn't even bother with the orange vine path. Just climbed in through a different window, a homemade window, and then I became a bird. It was at this point that the whole rest of the forest layer became an absolute breeze. When you actually have to platform, you know, there's a slight bit of challenge there to avoid falling into the poison and all that. But when you can just glide over everything, yeah, it's nothing. See, after making it down to the second sub-layer, I made really quick and short work of the poison fountains, and, you know, like the other parts of the game, it was fun to try to see what I could get away without doing. Like this part, you know, I was supposed to break the seal, and I just said, no, no, no. So I got down to the third sub-layer, made a beeline for the boss, and just to try to make it a little more difficult for myself because I didn't feel like I was getting enough challenge out of not collecting bananas, I relied purely on my schmoovement to deal with this boss. I didn't use my Bananza bird at all. And it was kind of fun, you know, you just get to do a little rolling, you do a little jumping, zip around the spiky vines to avoid taking any damage, and once again, pretty easily clobbered the boss. So yeah, all in all, forest layer, not too shabby. It was really everything prior to getting the ostrich Bananza that provided the most challenge. But I really wouldn't say that not collecting bananas has affected me that much so far. So after the forest came the junction, and I didn't even take the main path, I just catapulted over the side, and it worked. So I broke the void seal and headed back up along the path, and wanted to try something. I wanted to try this funny little idea I had. So I did a little ostrich Bananza, did a little turf surfing, did a little chunk jump, and then glided my way across to the snow part, and it actually worked. I was able to climb around, break a void seal, and then I had full access to go fight Void Kong if I wanted, and skip the zebra Bananza entirely. But I knew I was gonna want that zebra Bananza later on. Specifically for the end game, I knew what was coming, okay? So I teleported back up to the divide and made a beeline for the freezer. And, yeah, that was it. Not hard. Not hard, no bananas. Died a whole bunch and I regret everything. The freezer layer took me a little bit of time to get through because I suck. The first sub layer was not too shabby, you know, you just make your way to the breaking of the void seal. I kind of cheesed my way up the side a little bit, broke a void stake, and then I was down in the next sub layer. This is where things got just a little bit rocky. Okay, maybe more than a little bit rocky. I was determined to not play this level the right way, and that definitely came with its issues. I tried to skip my way across the lava as many times as I could. Eventually, though, I did get it right. Then I tried to speedrun getting the record pieces, and that came with its own self-certified death montage. But all in all, it wasn't too bad, and then I became a horsey. Donkey Kong, but a horse guy! With my newfound horsey abilities, I zipped my way up along the paths on the horse-o-matic, where I found Poppy Kong, and clapped her poppy cheeks. Then it was off to the third sub-layer, where, you know, I was expecting it to be a lot worse than it was, considering, you know, the lava all over the place, and I was getting PTSD at this point. But, you know, I was careful, cool, and calculated. I flew across this gap and just followed the path down to the next boss. Like 95% of the bosses in this game, this guy was pathetic. No struggles to be found here today. So yeah, all in all, I definitely struggled more with the freezer layer than I did with any of the other ones up to this point. I'm reluctant to blame the layer though. It was kind of more of a result of my own ineptitude, my own stubborn desire to skip over as much of it as I could. And because I wasn't more careful, I got bit for it. But there is something to be said about the lava everywhere. It does make it a little bit harder to navigate through this place. So yeah, I'll put it up just a little bit higher on the difficulty scale. It's ramping up just a tiny bit, but guess what? We still don't have any bananas. And I'm not feeling the heat yet, aside from my own lack of skill. So it was back down to the junction layer for me, and since I already freed the freezer layer from the clutches of, Purple, I made a beeline for Void Kong, and he ran like a bitch. So I had to chase him up to the Hilltop Layer, absolutely mogged his ass. Check out some of these clean snipes. Nice. You know, I decked his ass and he ran like a bitch. GG easy. Chased him to the Lagoon Layer, got another clean shot in, and I started to get a little bit reckless. It was getting a little iffy there for a second. But, you know, after another clean shot, I clobbered his ass, GG easy. He ran like a bitch. So then I headed back to the junction once again, where I initiated the clapping of the void cheeks. Clobbered him, GG easy. Overall, not too bad. But I will say that Void Kong definitely does have some of the trickier boss fights in the game. I mean, the Void Kong encounters are definitely more challenging than most of the bosses in this game. They're fun too, I like them. But yeah, I wasn't quite sweating just yet though. I'd still say I had an easier time handling Void Kong than I did the freezer layer. So, make of that what you will.
I want it, but I can't have. I wonder, can I climb the watermelon mountain? I want to climb the watermelon mountain, please just let me up. Oh my. I don't think I'm gonna get to climb the watermelon mountain. Or am I? Oh. Wait. All right. Well, what do you know? Thanks, Watermelon Mountain.
I died a whole bunch again, oops. Okay, the Tempest Layer is definitely where I started to feel the effects of not eating a single banana. It was like all the worst qualities of the Zebra Layer amped up to 11. There's lava everywhere, and it hurts even more than the lava did there, I think. I was taking 2 hearts of damage. And there's also raining lava, and there's also raining lightning. So I got there and worked my way down to the first sub-layer, the Lava Lake Walkway, I think it's called. I know that because I scientifically just read it while I was recording. And then I had to battle the bat. Yeah, battle. I smashed his face. Then I worked my way down into hell to collect more of the record pieces. Honestly, I thought it was gonna be a lot worse than it was, but I kinda just skipped around a whole bunch. I didn't go where it wanted me to go. I did my own thing. I even did a little skip to get over to the second record piece, and then I died. So then I tried it again. and then I died again. One thing's for sure, I got really good at dying in this level. After I finally successfully made my way over to that second record piece, I turf surfed across the lava and barreled my way back to the top, where I caught a case of elephantitis. I very narrowly avoided a hot and spicy death because I slurped it all up, grabbed the key, slurped some more, and then it was boss time, where I died immediately because I'm an idiot. Round 2 went a lot more smoothly. I knocked him down and punched his face. Then it was off to the third sub-layer, which honestly, it really wasn't like too bad. I walked off a ledge, but that was, well, that was my bad. But dodging the lightning really wasn't too bad at all, and I actually pretty quickly barreled my way through just the whole rest of this until I got back for my third and final rematch with the stupid bat guy. Things got a little bit dicey when my Bonanza power ran out, so I kind of had to run around and try to collect gold and wait for it to recharge.
One. Give me banana.
So after a whole song and dance, I finally managed to get it back, and then the rest was history.
How is he not dead?
So yeah, whoo, man, the Tempest Layer, yeah, that was one spicy meatball. That was definitely up maybe around like a medium kind of difficulty, you know? I was really starting to feel the effects of not having any extra health at this point. I was taking more damage for every hit, just trying to navigate around all the lava and particle effects. Yeah, it became a little bit more of a challenge. But all in all, you know, I made it work. It wasn't too terrible. On to the next one.
Oh, my ass.
The landfill layer was kind of a nice little cooldown level after the events of the Tempest Layer. This has got to be up there as one of the easiest in the game as well. I didn't want to take any unnecessary risks of accidentally colliding with some bananas, you know what I mean? Any unnecessary banana collisions. So I just elephantinaled my way down through the entire landfill. It was a safety precaution, you know? This is risky business. But yeah, it totally trivialized the entire expedition. Honestly, once you get the elephant Bonanza, it's kind of just what it does to the entire game. It just kind of trivializes everything. But anyway, after slurping up all the dirt, I landed in the Pika Bruiser boss arena, and all in all, I still wouldn't consider this to be a super challenging boss fight. However, there are a lot more of the I don't know, peekaboo guys in this boss fight than the first one, and even though they don't deal a ton of damage, if you're not careful, they can really sap your health because they just kind of leech onto you and suck it down through a straw. Luckily, there were some apples scattered across the arena, so that helped me out a bit because I got dangerously close to death. But yeah, I mean, that was pretty much that. The challenge of the overall layer itself is like almost non-existent, but the boss fight is definitely at least a notch or two above the original fight, if only because I had no bananas and no skills. No skills, so skillless bananas. If I had some more health, probably wouldn't have been cutting it as close, but I did, so it is what it is. All in all though, yeah, not too bad. The racing layer, okay, here, a funny thing about this place, you know, it's kind of just the fan service layer of the game, and so you would probably expect it to be like one of my favorite layers. That's even what I thought would be the case. You get Diddy Kong, get Dixie Kong, you get fun references and nods to other Donkey Kong games with Rambi, and I get the music, Dixie and Dixie's Double Trouble, but to be honest with you, the race here is not that good to me. The controls are just like really stiff. Rambi just isn't quite as nice to control here as I would like for him to be. It's something that I don't ever really hear anybody talking about or acknowledging, so maybe it's just a me problem, but I don't know, like, I wish I liked this place more than I do. But anyway, okay, so having no bananas really had no bearing on the difficulty of this one. Matter of fact, I kind of just like cheesed a shortcut for myself and just, yeah, totally blew Diddy and Dixie out of the water. Absolutely humiliated them at their own game. So yeah, it was a pretty easy race. And you know, it was only after the race that it occurred to me that I might have been able to skip it. I began to wonder after the fact if I could have used my ostrich Bonanza to glide across the track and just climb the trophy to the top. Oh well, maybe I'll find out at a later point in this video or something. Next up was the snake layer, and honestly, it wasn't too tough to get through. It just took a little bit longer because of circumstances. I zipped through the first area, no problem, dropped down to the grandpa snake part of the level, and climbed up on top of this pathway. I've heard that there's like some sort of way to get through this place without getting the snake Bonanza, but I didn't know how to do it. So I traveled around and gathered all the record pieces so I could be a snake.
Come on, swear enough. snake a
The
snack.
rest of the level is really straightforward. Use the snake bonanza and the slow-mo powers that it has to get up through these through this barrel part. It reminded me a lot of like DK Arcade through here. You bring Sunshine back to the land, and then I clapped Poppy so hard that she turned to the good side. A little more platforming, and then I reached Grumpy, who clapped me so hard that I turned to the bad side. But you know, all in all, it really wasn't that bad. It was just kind of lengthy, like a snake. All I know is that I woke up in prison. So yeah, the prison escape sequence, quite simply, should have been a breeze. The only obstacles you really need to worry about are these walls that can clamp down on you. But other than that, you're like musical monkey Jesus, bringing music back from the dead. And it was all totally smooth sailing.
I gotta put away my.
No! Oh no! I grabbed a banana!
That was really bad.
Oh shit. The entire run is over now. Oh man.
I'm pissed.
One entire playthrough later. So after an entire other goddamn playthrough and a quick little dose of PTSD,
I will not be digging down here this time.
I had to go free my daughter, who apparently got eaten by a fish. And then it was off to Food World. Yippee-ki-yay. The stupid-ass disco place was not hard, but it was deceptive. Fuck you, guy. Fuck you. Died a few times again, but honestly, other than that, it really wasn't too bad. See, on my second playthrough, I decided to skip the zebra so I could get through this game a little faster. So I had to find a creative way to get to the top of this pillar in the Burger Kingdom, but with snake and ostrich, yeah, that became a breeze. It just became a matter of working my way around to all the different burger buttons at that point, which really wasn't too bad. I did die in the deep fryer, though. Deep fried Kong. I did finally get to have a boss battle against the Mad Mixer, where I realized that
I can deny it no longer. I am small.
See, having no bananas at this point so late into the game meant that I found that out firsthand. But, you know, dodging the lasers themselves really isn't too bad, you know. It's just, you have a lot of time to see them coming up and prepare your jumps. So after hucking some bombs his way, I took him down and I unlocked my next burger button. I performed some Bonanza shenanigans with the snake and the ostrich to reach the final button, and then I finished my burger stack. After that, I climbed up the backside of the Ferris wheel instead of, you know, taking the easy way. I made it, well, maybe this was kind of the easy way, I don't know. And unlocked the inside of Cheeseburger. It was, you know, decently easy and straightforward from that point to go down this corridor. You just had to be careful with these, like, acid slug things, but not too bad. It wasn't really until I hit the boss that I really started to feel some resistance from this game. The Muckety Muck boss let me know on no uncertain terms that he was not messing around. With no skill points and no extra additions to my health, it made this one a little bit of a marathon. Because this boss here, man, dude, he had shit slinging all over the place, just constantly. And then he also just would not hold still. He was jumping from place to place, spitting down acid on top of me, and I don't know, it was kind of fucking with my depth perception a little bit, so it was hard to tell where stuff was even raining down from. Definitely got my ass handed to me a few times, but, you know, I still managed to prevail in the end. I'm stubborn like that. You're not gonna get me to give up that easily. So yeah, honestly, just because of all the hurdles that this layer requires of you, puts it a little bit higher on the difficulty scale as it is, but then you throw in that boss into the mix at the very end, and whoo! Yeah, that puts it up there. It's definitely up there. Getting into the back half of the game, no bananas, no skill points. Yeah, I'm feeling the burn, that's for sure. Especially after 2 goddamn playthroughs. Oh, by the way, yeah, you could skip the race in the Diddy Kong layer. I was able to test that out after all. Okay. Yeah, by this point in the game, not having any skills was really, testing my platforming prowess. I was really curious how this layer was gonna go, because on my very first playthrough, I had a shit ton of gold. And ordinarily, you talk to these rock guys to be able to, you spend a bunch of your gold, and it makes it a little easier for you to get through this platforming gauntlet. But, since I was breezing through the game, I didn't have much gold, I didn't have bananas, and I sure as shit didn't have skill points, which meant I was gonna gonna have to heavily rely on some quick thinking with my Bonanza power-ups. It definitely took me a good couple of tries to make the first jump, the first major jump. I started off using the snake Bonanza and transforming into the ostrich, trying to glide my way across, but it required just a little bit more than that. I'm telling you, yeah, it definitely took me a good couple of tries, but eventually I figured out that I had to turf surf into chunk jump into ostrich Bonanza, and even then I barely managed to successfully glide my way across the first gap. And at this point I was on a strict timer, so I had to swap to my snake, bounce real high, and then glide a little bit further across to reach my first checkpoint. So I was looking out over this gap thinking, how the shit am I gonna do this? And definitely had an unsuccessful first attempt. But as it turns out, it was really just a matter of turf surfing into chunk jump into ostrich again. And then I ostriched my way the rest of the way across to this platform, where I snaked and ostriched over to the final destination. Science terms, you know. Bashed my way through a bunch of walls, did a little more ostrich flight, and it was time to free the big man himself. Almost. So as it turns out, this Void Kong fight is kind of actually really fucking hard without any skill points. He can one-shot me with like his gold nuggets or whatever. So yeah, it took me a good couple of tries to finally get past this part. But luckily, after I finally managed to squeeze my way through the opening of this boss fight, the rest of it wasn't too bad. It was just a matter of very carefully maneuvering around the field. You know, there's like lava and shit everywhere, and he's raining stuff down on you. Once again, I definitely put the void fights up there as some of the better ones from this game. So yeah, after I put the clobber on him, I got turned into a rock. My daughter sang me a lullaby. We resurrected King K. Rice himself. Overall, yeah, the Forbidden Layer was definitely a pretty tricky one. It's got to be at the upper end of the difficulty scale, that's for sure. The Kremling Courtyard, oh man, I was looking forward to this one. The Kremling Courtyard is the final stop on this train, as far as you know. And this is one that I was really looking forward to. Not only because it's a big fat fan service kind of layer, in the best way possible, but I also knew that it was going to be the stress test for this entire journey. How difficult was this marathon, this gauntlet, going to be with no bananas in my belly, my belly? Well, as it turns out, it was definitely a challenge, but you know, I had worse luck on some of the other layers. So I cracked some Kremlings and headed down to Neki Skyway, where I knew I was gonna face my first set of hurdles. But I didn't even give these guys the chance to one-shot me. I was sniping all of them out of the air with some insane precision accuracy. I should really go back to Call of Duty. I miss that game. Next up was Claptrap Crossing, and you know, once again, not really too bad. I flubbed it up. I did a little flubbery. But you know, it's really just about getting them to bite into the jello and build you a path. It's not too bad. Critter Crevice, also not too bad. Blasted my way through the brambles, and off I went. After zipping my way through the Kremling camp, it's time for a rematch with Stompin' Clomper. What is it? King K Stompin' Clomper? I don't know, something like that. And yeah, there just really wasn't much to this one. Again, I don't know what it is about most of the bosses in this game. They're not that bad. It's something with this team. It's something with this team in general. They come up with these really creative ideas for boss fights, but then they let you take them down just way too easily. They go by way too fast. Some of these I wish went on a little bit longer, you know. But anyway, I'm done bitching about that. I sniped some more birds. Look at this. I just want to let this play out. Look at this. Boo, 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 boo. Maybe I'll hop on Overwatch after this. Then I went bramble skating, zipped around on a boulder across this, you know, fun fact. On my first playthrough through this area, I didn't realize that this was probably the intended way to get through here. So I just used the elephant and sucked up all the brambles. But this was much faster and more efficient for getting through, so it all worked out. The Kremling Coliseum is where I ended up next, and I knew this was going to be a bit of a battle. I bashed my way through each of the waves, like, pretty easily. It wasn't too bad, and then I goofed. I did a little goofing right at the very end. That's the worst part, you know? When you have a big, long thing that you're trying to deal with in a game, and then you mess it up right at the end, and then you have to do it all over again. But, is what it is. I made it happen the second time around, so then it was off to the planet core to deal with the big man himself. I got serenaded by my friends.
Is that the Is that the Howdy World of Gumball theme song or something?
I knew K. Rool was gonna be a bitch if I wasn't careful. 3 hearts against this guy? Yeah. But not the best combination, so I had to be extra careful not to get hit because it probably would have been a one-shot. Lucky for me, man, I was locked in. I was locked and loaded. I came into this shit prepared. After some crashing and bashing, I took the big bastard down, and that was that. You know, honestly, I mean, if I'm looking at it objectively, the Kremling Layer probably is a pretty challenging final level of the game, you know? But I don't know, not to brag, not to huff my own fumes or anything, but I didn't have too much trouble getting through this. I expected it to be a lot worse than it was, but it's always a treat to play through with the Kremling Layer. I get to hear those iconic sounds. So I might have been able to finish the game without the zebra, but, you know, I had visions of what was coming up ahead, and I didn't want to mess around with that shit after the day I've had, you know, 2 playthroughs and all. So I went up to the zebra layer and made a beeline for the Elder. I got those pieces, which was made much easier with the other Bonanza forms this time around. And then I got that Nanzer form. I was a funny little horse guy. I got turned into a funny little horse. Yeehaw. And I didn't even have to finish the layer at this point, so I just, you know, I was done. I was out of there, and it was off to finish the game. This entire playthrough is cursed. So funny story, I dealt with the Copter K. Rool, the lead up to his boss fight, and then beat the King of Rot in one try, and I didn't record any of it. I got the credits, I got the credit sequence, the ending sequence. Does that count? Look, here's my save file to prove that I did it. No bananas, how about that? I got the 1 star, that means I finished it. The credits were happened. The credits were happened. Science and words. So yeah, thanks for watching, bye-bye! Okay, just because I like you guys so much, you got a handsome face right there, you guy, you. I went ahead and played the entire climax again after this long-ass day of playing this game twice. I really am insane. So, you know, I got through the iconic fake credits, clobbered my way through, probably my favorite part of the entire game here with the banana pillar shooting up into the planet, shooting up out of the planet. This entire part of the game is gonna live with me for a while. Then it was time for New Donk City, where, you know, I was trying to breeze through it as quickly as possible, and I got pretty darn close to the end. I got bonked, and then suddenly death embraced me with open arms. Yeah, after the second time around, I ran up the path with the zebra. This is why I got the zebra again. I saw a speed run. I know it's possible. I just didn't want to deal with it after this day I had, and I was locked in, man. This K. Rool fight is definitely a tricky one. Very fittingly, might I add. I am so thrilled that K. Rool is a big, fat, tough as shit monster in this game. Fits right in line with his previous game appearances of being tough as nails. You know, I wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah, doing this shit with 3 hearts is something, man. I was playing it as safely as possible. The last thing I wanted was to get clapped in the final moments after dealing with everything that I've dealt with. And thankfully, oh thank God, I clobbered him again for the 2nd time in one sitting, and the day was saved. Check it out, no bananas. Whew! Yeah, this final stretch of the game, that's definitely up there. That's up there on the hardness scale. Really, the only reason I got through it as well as I did is because I knew what was coming. I was prepared, man. Yep, so just like that, my no banana run of Donkey Kong Bananza was completed. All in all, it was definitely a fun challenge, and I am glad that I went ahead and decided to try to play through the game this way. Gave me some more time with Bananza, which I'm just obsessed with. This game is so good, man. But it also allowed me to further appreciate just how much freedom this game offers to the player. Nintendo really cooked with this one. And yeah, you know, playing through it with no bananas, I guess, I don't know, it kind of felt like a new game plus in a sense, I guess. I definitely recommend it if you're looking for a fun little shake-up to your Bananza experience once you're finished with the main game. I gotta say, I probably still wouldn't put it up on the level of difficulty as those original Donkey Kong Country games. Not even just the originals, I mean Returns and Tropical Freeze too. Those games are just so tough. All of the country games. Tough as nails, like nearly every step of the way. Bananza, not so much. But that also wasn't what this game set out to do, you know? This was just a fun experiment, a fun way for me to play through the game, and, you know, at least attempt to make it a lot harder on myself, because that's what I like out of my Donkey Kong games, you know? Really hoping that the next steps for Donkey Kong in 2D lean into this difficulty aspect. I feel like that's what really helps set the Donkey Kong games apart from a lot of Nintendo's other platforming games, you know? So yeah, in conclusion, it's a challenge, but not too bad of a challenge. I would say a lot of the heavy challenge from not having any bananas and skill points really comes from the back end of this game, where you start taking a lot more damage from every hit, and the level hazards start to become a lot more plentiful. And of course, some of the bosses on the back end of this game too are definitely going to test your reflexes and skill a bit more than anything from the first half of the game. So yeah, man, this was one hell of an experiment. If you guys are interested in more videos like this, let me know in the comments below. I had fun making it. I guess we'll see how the views turn out and if this can be a sustainable thing. I don't know. I got a Patreon if you want to help make this a more sustainable thing for me. Patreon helps take away the pressure of worrying about the algorithm for every video, so I'd really appreciate any support you could throw me over there. But hey, you know, thanks for joining me on this ride. Thanks for joining me on this journey. I'm gonna go do something else. Bye.